What you are about to see was never supposed to reach you. We're showing real, documented encounters with aliens and UFOs. Some are being chased over America, while others were interrogated in secret bases.
We're looking at the interview suite at S4. It's kept dark for the comfort of the aliens.
This never-before-seen Roswell footage is also very shocking. Soldiers, pilots, and citizens have been silenced, but no more.
I'm losing my mind. You know, it didn't look like anything I've ever seen before.
Let's begin.
¿Es real?
Fort George is an active military installation, which makes this footage all the more extraordinary. A camera picked up what appeared to be a tall, thin, gray figure walking casually alongside a U.S. Army soldier on the base grounds, completely unbothered and moving like it belonged there. The soldier next to it didn't react, didn't flinch, and kept walking like this was completely routine. That detail alone was what got people talking the most. Either nobody on that base found this unusual, or they had been told not to react. What was walking alongside that soldier at Fort George was not human.
No puede ser.
Chase or escort? Two American fighter jets were filmed in close pursuit of a dark disc-shaped craft that was moving through the sky with complete indifference to the aircraft on its tail. The UFO was solid, round, and showed no exhaust, no wings, and no visible propulsion as the jets banked hard trying to keep up with it. Bob Lazar spent decades telling anyone who would listen that he reverse-engineered exactly this kind of craft inside Area 51 and lost everything professionally for saying so publicly. A man doesn't sacrifice his career and reputation for something that isn't true. Area 51 interrogation. Back in 1996, a man who only identified himself as Victor leaked footage he claimed to have pulled directly out of Area 51. The clip showed what appeared to be a live gray alien being interrogated inside a facility, small, framed with a large rounded head, enormous dark eyes, and a tiny mouth. According to Victor, this being had survived after its craft was shot down in 1989. Rocket Pictures released it through a documentary in May 1997. Researcher Michael Heisman backed the timeline up, linking it to a South African Air Force report about a downed craft in the Kalahari Desert that same year, with one survivor allegedly transferred to Area 51. Multiple crashes. On 31st December last year, reports came in of multiple crafts coming down across Arizona, and this footage showed what responders found when they arrived on scene. A large black disc-shaped craft crashed in an open field, its hull cracked and damaged on one side where the impact had clearly been severe. Personnel in full white hazmat suits moved around it with equipment, while onlookers behind yellow tape filmed from a distance. The craft was enormous, smooth, and unmistakably disc-shaped, with no visible engine, wings, or markings consistent with any known aircraft. Multiple crashes on the same day in the same state was not a coincidence anyone could easily explain away. Jets intercept aliens. 3 disc-shaped craft were filmed, flying in loose formation over the central Nevada desert at sunset, each one clearly defined against the golden sky above the desert horizon. What made this clip particularly significant was what happened next. U.S. Air Force F-22 Raptors were scrambled to intercept them. The fact that the military responded at all was an admission that whatever those 3 objects were, they were considered a serious enough presence in restricted airspace to send in the most advanced fighter jets in the American arsenal. Rendlesham Forest. October 4th, 2003. Someone was out in Rendlesham Forest in Suffolk, England, when their camera captured something sitting in a clearing between the trees. A classic disc-shaped craft was resting on the ground, and standing on either side of it were two tall gray figures. The timestamp was burned right into the footage, the kind that was fixed to the camera hardware and couldn't be edited or faked after the fact. Rendlesham Forest already had one of the most documented UFO incidents in British history back in 1980. Captured in India. Somewhere in rural India, late at night, a group of people gathered around something lying in the dry grass and straw that nobody could explain. The footage showed a small, pale, frail creature flat on the ground, completely still, with a large round head and wide dark eyes that caught every light pointed at it. Its body was almost skeletal, in a way that matched no animal found in that region. The people standing around it looked genuinely unsettled, phones out, nobody moving too close. The video spread worldwide fast, and the comments section filled up with people who had no explanation either. Some things are hard to dismiss. Alien trap. Somewhere in the American Southwest, a person filming between a gap in some large rocks caught something that made them step back fast. Pressed into the dark space between the stones was a small, dark figure, with one enormous black eye visible and a pale, elongated hand reaching out through the gap, fingers stretched forward. It was impossible to tell from the footage whether it was stuck and trying to get out, or whether it was reaching toward whoever was holding the camera. That uncertainty was the most unsettling part. Nobody stuck around long enough to find out which one it was, and honestly, given what that hand looked like, that was probably the right call. Feeding the alien.
Eat this whole thing.
This footage came out of what looked like a dark jungle location, and the man in it appeared to be military or government. He held out a large raw piece of meat toward a gray alien standing right in front of him, and the alien took it with both hands and began eating. The being was pale, green-gray, large-eyed, frail, bodied, but clearly present and interactive. The casual nature of the exchange was what made this so unsettling. Alien escorted. Out in an open desert landscape, fully armed military personnel were photographed escorting something that was clearly not one of their own. Walking between the soldiers was a tall, silver, gray alien, smooth-skinned, large, dark eyes, long-limbed and slender, walking upright without any restraints visible. The soldiers around it were in full combat gear, but their body language suggested this was a transfer operation rather than a capture. The being was enormous compared to the men flanking it. The photo was linked to a transfer toward Area 51 facilities, which, if true, would mean whatever agreements exist between governments and extraterrestrials go a lot deeper than anyone has officially admitted. Military escort leaked.
Is that thing?
Night vision footage leaked from inside what appeared to be an active military base showed 4 uniformed soldiers walking in formation through a facility corridor lined with equipment. In the middle of the group, flanked on all sides, was a figure that was noticeably different, shorter than the soldiers, pale, and moving with a stiff, fragile gait that looked nothing like a human walking under their own confidence. It was being escorted somewhere, either coming from an interrogation or heading toward one. The soldiers moved with discipline and purpose, keeping tight around it. Whoever leaked this footage did so quietly. Now it's time for today's open discussion. In the summer of 1947, outside Roswell, New Mexico, something came down in the desert, and the military was on the scene before almost anyone else knew it happened. Footage from the crash site showed armed soldiers standing guard around a tilted disc-shaped craft that had clearly come down hard. On the ground nearby, a long, pale figure was stretched out flat in the dirt, while other soldiers crouched over it, wearing gloves, examining it up close. The body was thin, gray-green, with elongated limbs and a large head. Armed guards kept a wide perimeter around the whole scene. The military called it a weather balloon. But you don't send armed soldiers with rifles to recover a weather balloon, and you certainly don't classify the files for decades after. Most compelling video. Leaked from inside what was alleged to be a classified government base, this clip is still considered one of the most compelling pieces of alien footage ever recorded. The camera captured a side profile of a tall gray being in close detail, and the images were deeply unsettling. The skull was enormous and elongated, the skin a mottled bluish gray with visible texture running across the neck and shoulders like muscle or tissue beneath the surface. The neck itself was unnaturally long and thin, supporting that oversized head. It had biological detail that no costume or prop from that era could have convincingly replicated. People have been trying to debunk this one for years. All have failed. Meteorite retrieval. Someone filming from a distance captured a group of slender blue-gray figures gathered around a large, dark rock wedged into the entrance of a cave. There were at least 5 of them, all roughly the same height, working together with their hands pressed against the surface of the object like they were examining it or trying to move it. The rock had the heavy, scorched look of something that had fallen from the sky. The footage raised an uncomfortable question. If they were collecting it, where were they taking it? And how many times had this already happened without anyone watching? Alien paratroopers. The source of this one was never tracked down, which is very suspicious. Night vision footage showed a glowing disc-shaped craft hovering above an open field, while multiple figures descended from it toward the ground below. Several humanoid shapes were already visible on the hillside, spread out like they had just landed moments before. The whole thing looked exactly like a military paratrooper drop, except nothing about the craft above them was military. Real, fake, or something in between, this clip earned its reputation as one of the strangest pieces of footage to surface recently. Leaked footage. This footage reportedly surfaced on the dark web and claimed to be a leaked file from inside a government facility. The black and white clip showed an extreme close-up of a face that was not human. The skull was oversized and rounded, the eye socket deep, hollow, and far larger than anything on a human face, and the skin had an uneven, almost textured quality to it. The mouth appeared to be open like it was either speaking. Whether this alien was being interviewed or experimented on inside a classified facility, nobody who leaked it ever came forward to confirm the source. Orbs Patrol Base. A group of urban explorers visiting an abandoned military base in Oklahoma sent in this clip with a straightforward account of what they witnessed. 3 bright, glowing orbs moved slowly and deliberately around the perimeter of the base, and the word they used to describe it was patrolling, which is exactly what it looked like. No date or time was attached to the footage, just the location and the account. The orbs maintained consistent spacing between each other as they moved, which ruled out random atmospheric lights pretty quickly. What do you think? Comment below. Alien on Moon. Recently released footage from the Apollo 11 mission showed something standing on the surface of the moon that nobody in the original mission briefings ever talked about publicly. A tall, thin, dark figure stood completely upright on the lunar surface, humanoid in shape but far too elongated to be an astronaut in a suit. Both Buzz Aldrin, the second man to walk on the moon, and Dr. Edgar Mitchell, the 6th, separately came forward in later years, confirming that alien presence was encountered during the Apollo missions. Project Blue Book.
How about we concentrate on your time?
On June 9, 1964, a classified session under Project Blue Book was allegedly filmed, and that footage has now surfaced uncut. The black and white clip showed a gray alien seated at a table in what looked like an interrogation room, its large domed skull, hollow eyes, and frail frame clearly visible as it sat hunched forward. Personnel were present across from it, speaking to it and observing closely. Someone off camera could be heard saying, "Tell us the truth."
Tell us the truth.
This footage predates AI-generated video by decades, which makes dismissing it a lot harder than people would like. Alien caught.
What's the first thing that goes through your mind?
I'm losing my mind. You know, it didn't look like anything I've ever seen before.
Jessica Ortiz from Compton, California, woke up one morning and reached for her phone like any normal day. When she pulled up her Ring camera footage, what she saw stopped her cold. The recording showed a figure with a large, oblong-shaped head and a distinct body lingering near her property in the dark. She had no idea what had been standing outside her home while she slept. The video spread fast and racked up millions of views almost overnight. Crime scene investigator Scott Roeder even sat down with Inside Edition to weigh in on what it could have been.
The video is authentic. It's real. It's not a hoax. To me, it looks like some kind of non-human creature.
Nobody could agree on an answer, and honestly, some of the theories were almost scarier than the footage itself.
The video's been viewed millions of times, and there are a number of theories about what was actually captured on camera.
Shocking alien footage. A leaked clip was uploaded on Reddit not too long ago, showing something almost impossible to process. Inside a fenced area, surrounded by armed personnel, a strange figure moves across the ground, dribbling a basketball. The being doesn't look human. Its movements are controlled, almost practiced, as it interacts with someone off camera. No context was provided with the footage, no explanation. Just a silent scene that raises questions the viewer is left to answer. Is it being protected or held? Captured alien. A TikTok account called Adel Ulfer, whose bio listed him as working in aerospace and defense, posted 2 clips in the summer of 2022 that people are still talking about. The first was dated June 23rd, and the second 1st July. Both showed someone interacting with a metallic container fitted with a small viewing window, appearing to pass something through it like a feeding routine. For just a split second in the footage, a face appeared behind the glass. Large, dark eyes, pale skin, a rounded head, and a humanoid shape that matched every description ever given of a gray alien. The account gave no explanation and no follow-up. Close alien encounter.
Empezamos a escuchar ruidos.
In Tamaulipas, Mexico, a local man named Juanito Juan decided to enter an abandoned location after the paranormal investigator who had gone in before him simply vanished without a trace. Inside, he found a bright light source with no obvious origin and no one visibly holding it. He called out, but got nothing back. As he pushed further in and got closer to the light, a figure emerged from the darkness behind it. Large rounded head, dark sunken eyes, slight frame, it looked exactly like the gray alien descriptions that have been coming out of Mexico for decades. He got it on camera before getting out of there. 2 grays walking. In this old footage, 2 figures moved slowly through what appeared to be a dimly lit corridor or open space, and neither of them was human. Both had the same distinct profile: large, rounded heads sitting on slender necks, narrow, sloping shoulders, and slight frames that moved with a slow, deliberate pace. They walked side by side without any urgency, almost like they were completely comfortable wherever they were. The caption in the footage referenced someone named Tatalian, suggesting this may have been part of a documented encounter or internal record of some kind. Stalking alien. A home security camera in Roswell, New Mexico picked up something outside a ground floor window late at night that the homeowner wasn't expecting to find on their footage the next morning. A pale, rounded face pressed close to the glass, staring directly into the house. The eyes were oversized and dark, the head noticeably too large for the narrow neck beneath it, and the facial features were flat and minimal in a way that didn't match any human face. It just stood there at the window, completely still, looking in. Forest alien encounter. While checking an abandoned area, military officers spotted a strange figure with dark almond-shaped eyes and a gray body nearby there. When their flashlight landed on it, the alien quickly lifted its odd arms to cover its face, which made people think it already understood exactly what a camera was and what it meant to be watched. And if that's true, it had learned that somewhere. Alien in Brazil. The The Virginia incident is one of the most documented alien cases in South American history, and this declassified footage brings it back into focus. In 1996, in the city of Varginha, Brazil, the Brazilian army allegedly captured a living extraterrestrial being after multiple civilian witnesses reported seeing a strange creature in the streets. The footage showed a dark figure in a wooded area, illuminated briefly by light, with a body shape that matched exactly what the original witnesses described: large head, reddish eyes, and a slightly oily-looking frame. The military denied everything officially, but this footage suggests there was a lot more to cover up than they admitted. Whistleblower.
Now notice also, this is the body of an alien, and where we have 6 ribs that are connected together, they have 3.
A person wearing a disguise to protect their identity went live and claimed they had worked inside Area 51. Then, this person held up photographs that were taken from within the base. The first image showed what appeared to be a small, pale body lying on a surface, legs and feet visible, clearly not human in proportion. The second photo was the one that stopped people cold. A face stared back at the camera, large, elongated skull, deep-set dark eyes with a skeletal quality to the facial structure that no human being carries. This person risked everything going public.
And they still look like this.
Alien Mona Lisa. The Apollo 20 mission was never supposed to exist publicly. According to those who came forward, it was a classified joint American and Soviet recovery operation with one goal: retrieve alien technology from the moon. What they found inside a massive, crashed alien spacecraft was not just technology. Lying inside the wreckage was a female humanoid figure they named Mona Lisa. The footage showed her face up close, dark hair, human-like features, but with subtle differences around the brow and skin texture that set her apart. This mission was buried immediately and denied ever happening. Kitchen visitor.
Oh my god, what the is that?
On March 5th, 2005 and 3:10 in the morning, a camera captured something moving inside the kitchen. Entry number 69 in what appeared to be an ongoing videotape to capture an alien after being woken up by bright flashes of light inside the kitchen as an alien. The close-up frame showed a dark, rounded face peering from behind a door inside the wall, large, dark eyes, no visible nose, and a wide, flat head. Whatever visited that house that night, it left Grandpa on the floor.
Oh my god, what's it doing?
Blue Book interview.
You say you're from the future and an evolutionary descendant of humans. You also say you're a different species. So, which one is it? Are you a descendant of humans or not?
This was the second part of the June 9th, 1964, classified interview conducted at Dulce Base, the underground facility in New Mexico that has been at the center of alien collaboration theories for decades. The footage showed the gray being, its large domed skull catching the light as it sat upright with both arms resting outward. A subtitle appeared on screen translating its response as, "For a short while, sir," which meant communication was happening in both directions. The fact that this interview had a part 2 suggested this was not a one-time encounter, but an ongoing, documented exchange between humans and aliens.
Now, how do you speak English?
Tall, pale alien. Filmed near the perimeter of Area 51 in the Nevada desert, this clip showed a thin, gray figure sprinting across open ground at a speed that looked completely unnatural for something that size. The body was slight and elongated, moving low and fast across the desert floor with an odd gait that didn't match any animal native to that region. The surrounding landscape was flat and exposed, which made the figure easy to track across the frame before it disappeared. Whether this was an escapee, a test subject, or something that simply wandered too close to the fence line? The Nevada desert has been hiding things for a very long time. Hangar footage. Leaked KGB footage from an unknown military base showed something that dwarfed everything around it, inside a large industrial hangar. A massive dark disc-shaped craft sat at the center of the space, its curved hull almost touching the ceiling above it. Personnel in white suits worked around its base, while suited figures in darker clothing observed from a distance. The scale of the craft, relative to the people standing next to it, was staggering. This was old footage, grainy, and clearly not staged for public consumption, which is exactly what made it so compelling. Massive orb.
Oh, you see how many there are?
The YouTube channel UFO Footage 2020 uploaded this clip just 2 weeks ago with a simple description: UFOs over Area 51 last week. Through night vision, a large craft became visible, hovering low over the mountain ridge just outside the base perimeter. 4 bright lights running along its underside in a straight horizontal line, evenly spaced and glowing intensely green through the lens. No specific date was attached, and the clip was short. But what it captured in those few seconds above the most secretive military installation in America was enough to make every UFO community crazy. Forest visitor. Somewhere along the Appalachian Mountains, a homeowner heard strange noises coming from the woods behind his house late at night and went out to investigate with a camera. What appeared at the tree line was not an animal. A gray alien stood just beyond the darkness, pale blue-gray skin, a large, smooth, rounded head, and those wide, dark, almond-shaped eyes staring directly into the camera without flinching. The second frame showed its body, tall and luminous, moving through the trees with a faint glow surrounding its body. Whatever had been making those noises in the woods that night, it had been standing much closer to that house than the owner ever realized. Sakhalin sighting. A Russian military helicopter was flying over the mountains of Sakhalin Island in 2023 when the crew caught something on camera that nobody had a good explanation for. Floating above the ridgeline was a dark, elongated disc-shaped object, completely still against the gray sky. It wasn't a bird, it wasn't another aircraft, and it made no sound. The military rarely shares footage like this, which made people wonder what else they had been sitting on. What were they not telling us? The missing nurse.
She looked like death warmed over. She said, "You won't believe what happened." She said, "I've never seen anything so good." I said, "Well, look, you're a nurse." And I said, "Anytime you're in this business, you're going to see a lot of things." I said, "You may as well get used to it." She said, "No, this is what it is."
Glenn Dennis was a mortician working near Roswell, New Mexico in 1947 when he got pulled into something he never expected. Years later, in a recorded interview on November 19th, in the late 90s, he described what a nurse on the base had confided in him. She told him she had seen 3 small bodies inside the facility. They were thin, fragile, with oversized heads and features that looked nothing like any human she had ever seen. She was shaking just trying to get the words out. Shortly after that conversation, she was transferred without warning. Then a letter arrived suggesting something had happened to her, and after that, nobody could confirm where she had gone.
She gave me a little diagram that she had drawn some figures of some arms and face and so on. She told me that this is what, was in those, that it was a crash. Wasn't an airplane, but they didn't know what it was at that time.
These were bodies.
Yeah, but she said we have 3 bodies. That there was 3 bodies. She said 2 of them were very mutilated. One looked like it might have walked out, or that it, might have lived a little while. And she explained they were like 3.5 feet to 4 feet tall. The 2 of the bodies were you couldn't identify much because they were practically destroyed, and it looked like maybe that they might have been a predatory animal or something might have been doing some damage on the bodies too.
No scientific answer. In September 2017, a blueprint surfaced that stopped researchers in their tracks. Whoever drew it had recorded a disc-shaped aircraft in precise detail, 20 meters wide, 4 meters tall, with 4 thrusters and step-by-step movement processes mapped out to exact measurements. Then the actual video footage emerged, and the craft on screen matched the drawing almost perfectly. In the footage, the disc approached what looked like a shimmering barrier of light, cut straight through it, and vanished. A flash, a pulse of electromagnetic waves, and then nothing. Nobody draws something that specific from imagination, and no known aircraft behaves that way. Science had no clean answer for it. Miami Mall aliens.
It involves talk of alien sightings at Bayside Marketplace. There was a massive police response in downtown Miami.
New Year's Day 2 years ago at Miami's Bayside Marketplace, things got very strange, very fast. Over 60 police cars descended on the area, and witnesses on the ground started describing something that didn't make sense. A 10-foot-tall gray figure, moving unnaturally among the squad cars, slow and deliberate, in a way that made people stop and stare. Videos hit social media within minutes and spread to millions of viewers before the night was even over. People were convinced they had just watched a real alien walking around a Florida shopping mall. Authorities gave a vague response and moved on quickly, which somehow made the whole thing feel even more suspicious. Hangar footage leaked. At Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio, old grainy footage surfaced showing something that was never meant to be seen publicly. Inside what looked like a large open hangar, a massive disc-shaped craft sat suspended just above the ground, dwarfing every person standing beneath it. The people in the frame looked tiny next to it, scattered around the base of the object like they were studying it or waiting for orders. The craft had a smooth, wide rim and a distinct raised center, classic in shape but enormous in scale. Nobody officially acknowledged the footage existed. It just quietly appeared, and once people saw it, it was impossible to unsee. Buried in Peru. In a remote, isolated stretch of Peruvian desert, archaeologists were digging through a site where an entire community had lived almost 600 years ago, before every single one of them mysteriously passed away. What they pulled from the ground stopped the excavation cold. Buried beneath layers of packed dirt and dry roots was a metallic, dome-shaped object covered in intricate engravings and fitted with what looked like mechanical components, including a striking turquoise element still intact after centuries underground. It matched no known civilization, no known tool, and no known technology from that era. Nobody could explain why it was there, or whether whatever brought it had anything to do with why those people were gone. Aliens in Germany. In the middle of World War II, while the world was focused on the front lines, leaked black and white footage from Germany in 1944 showed something nobody had context for. 2 large disc-shaped craft were sitting on the ground, surrounded by figures moving around them, appearing to work on or examine the objects up close. The discs were wide, smooth, and identical in shape, sitting low to the ground with a faint haze around them. Germany was already rumored to have been experimenting with unconventional aircraft during the war, but nothing in any official record looked like this. Trail, alien captured. A trail camera set up in someone's backyard picked up something in the middle of the night that the homeowner was not prepared to see. In the grainy night vision footage, a pale, thin figure with a large, rounded head was crouched low to the ground between the trees, digging through the dirt and leaves with focused, deliberate movements. It stayed there for a while, working at the same spot like it was searching for something specific. Then it either found what it came for or gave up, because it slowly straightened up and walked off into the dark without any urgency. Shocking invasion. During a live news report on a bridge in Mauá, Sao Paulo in 2006, something appeared in the sky behind the reporter that nobody in the studio seemed to catch at the moment. 3 disc-shaped crafts moved steadily across the bright blue sky above the city's rooftops and broadcast towers, clearly visible and flying in a loose formation. The footage was broadcast live to thousands of viewers, and the response was immediate. The fact that it happened mid-broadcast, completely unplanned and in broad daylight, made it one of the harder ones to brush aside. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. See you soon.